Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to my show. I'm Sean David. Let's talk some old school NBA. Now in today's episode, I want to talk about some of the most underrated players of all time. And just to be clear, that can be NBA superstars, NBA legends, but I'm talking about those legends that could deserve a little bit more love from the fans and especially from the media. But before we start with this episode, I want to give a quick shout out to my Patreons. Thanks a lot you guys for supporting the show. As always, it's very much appreciated. And I would say let's dig right into today's episode. Now the first player on my list is going to be John Stockton. Yes, one of my favorite players of all time. John Stockton. How can a point guard that is the all-time leader in steals and assists be underrated? Well, to be honest, I have no idea, but he unfortunately is. When we talk about the best point guard of all time, Magic Johnson usually gets the nod. And I can easily understand why, since Magic was not only a multiple NBA champion, but he's a true NBA legend. But the more time passes, the more point guards get put in front of John Stockton. People say that he never won an NBA championship and that should be a deciding factor. Or let's say not the only one, especially when they played in Michael Jordan's era, and we all know that there were countless NBA legends that didn't win an NBA championship because of Michael Jordan.
John Stockton, a new NBA assist king. John Stockton, it's over. We're on our way to the World Championship. He's a superstar in the eyes of people, but to himself, he's just a regular guy. He's one of a kind. He's the ultimate in his position. He's a perfectionist, and he enjoys his privacy.
In many ways, John Stockton has been a reluctant basketball star, avoiding the celebrity spotlight whenever and however possible.
That's John Stockton. You got to know him. You got to understand him. And he's a family man all the way. And, well, I'll tell you what, if I had a son, I've got $3. I'd like to have a son like John Stockton. In fact, I'd like to adopt him.
And the next player on my list is going to be Scottie Pippen. Just like with John Stockton, it's a mystery to me how there can be so many journalists that simply disrespect Scottie Pippen. In today's game, we celebrate Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson to be two great two-way players. Players that not only do a good job on the offensive end, but also do a heck of a job on defense. Well, Scottie Pippen was just that. And the one thing that often gets very much overlooked is that he was also a great passer too. If it wasn't for Scottie Pippen, the Bulls dynasty would never have happened. And I say that as the greatest Michael Jordan fan alive.
Disrespected him on our airwaves, and I want to apologize to all of our viewers for this question, and especially for my friend Stephen A's answer to this question. Michael Jordan was the greatest solo act. What's that?
It's ridiculous.
Come again?
He won by himself. That's what you're saying. Michael Jordan won by himself. Scottie Pippen didn't matter, huh? He didn't have anything to do with those 6 rings. Nothing.
Allow me to finish, please. Michael Jordan was the greatest competitor in any sport ever. He was the greatest solo act in any sport ever. He taught Scottie Pippen everything he knew about playing defense and how to win basketball games on offense. Pippen was in Jordan's shadow in a good way. And I'm sorry, Stephen A. Scottie Pippen is the most overrated top 50 player of all. It's not even close. He's not a top 50 player.
You know, to be honest, when I hear those comments of Skip Bayless, I really ask myself, how can this guy actually get a job as moderator or NBA journalist? I really don't get it. Enough said, let's head to the next one. And the next player on my list is going to be Moses Malone. Fo. Okay, I gotta be honest. With Moses Malone, I am a little bit biased because he was my favorite big of all time next to Hakeem Olajuwon. But unfortunately, when people talk about the best bigs, or let's say their top 5 with bigs, Moses Malone hardly gets mentioned. And that to me is simply a big mistake, or let's say a crime. Not only was he an NBA champion, but also with Dennis Rodman, the best offensive rebounder of all time. A force under the basket and a guy that could easily give you 30 points a night.
10 seconds. Malone underneath. Malone again.
Look at that kid.
The same kind of a rebound.
Look at that kid.
The year was 1974, and a lanky 19-year-old Moses Malone announced his arrival in the ABA as a dominant big man brimming with potential.
When we signed him, I knew that he had great talent. I had no idea that he would be doing the things that he's doing right now. He's very good now, and I'm sure in a year or two, when he's old enough to shave, he'll be excellent.
2 seasons later, Malone moved on to the NBA, and as his body filled out, his game became even more ferocious.
Maybe the best offensive rebounder in the history of the game.
Nicknamed the chairman of the boards for his relentless work as a rebounder, particularly on the offensive glass.
Moses Malone had to work hard. Still can't get the ball to drop. Here he goes again, and he still can't. Malone pushes it in.
He led the Houston Rockets to the 1981 Finals and won 2 league MVP awards.
And the next player on my list is going to be Shawn Kemp, the Rain Man. I recently had Shawn Kemp on the show, and not only is he a great guy, but also one of the most underrated players since he's not in the Hall of Fame. Of course, if we think of Shawn Kemp, the first thing that comes to mind are his incredible dunks. And rightfully so, since he was the best in-game dunker next to Vince Carter the NBA has ever seen. But even without the dunks, Shawn was a Hall of Famer. He had a deadly mid-range game, was a great shot blocker, and he was a 5-time NBA All-Star, so how can he not be in the Hall of Fame?
73-71. 6 of the shot clock. Perkins in low to Kemp. Double. Nice behind the back wraparound. Gary strolls into the lane. Lays it up and in. Middle arc lemon impersonation here. The Harlem Globetrotters. Nice little wraparound. Gary Payton, the step back finish. The board. Inbound. Got it to Kemp. 4 seconds. 3 spins in the lane. And jams it. What a move. What a move by young Shawn Kemp.
Nuggets clinging to the 1-point lead. 5 minutes left in the third. And Kemp, and he shouts out with joy.
I would say that was rather an emphatic.
I think Shawn should save that for his next slam dunk appearance.
Kemp out on top with Corey Blunt on him. Lost it, and Hamilton now taking it down the floor. Dishes off. Corey Williams had it blocked by Kemp. Wow, what a block. Out of bounds, goes off Corey Williams, will belong to the Sonics.
McMillan to Kemp, covered by Bird. Kemp holding the ball. Got to move it. Inside he comes. He leads in with a running jam. A spread eagle. Lean in. Right-handed slam. Count the basket. He's fouled. And Shawn will go to the line. Holy mackerel, what a play. Wow.
And the next player on my list is Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. Now, with Hakeem Olajuwon, it's a little bit more complicated because over the last couple of years, Hakeem received more and more love, especially from the fans. But let me get straight to the point. If we take a look at the list of top 10s or top 20 players of all time, Hakeem hardly makes those lists. And to me, that's simply a mistake. A 2-time NBA champion who had not a great team but only a solid team, and still he took them to the NBA championship. A big that not only had incredible footwork, but who could simply do everything on the floor. If I had to decide between Hakeem Olajuwon and let's say Wilt Chamberlain, it really would be a tough decision for me.
Michael Jordan, is he better than Biggs? Yes, he was. Better than which Biggs? Help our argument. No, you can compare. He said you can't compare. No, you can't. Well, Michael Jordan's gonna be better than what Biggs? Without question. Better than what Biggs? He's not better than DeMarcus Cousins. Better than what Biggs? Michael Jordan better than what Biggs? He's not better than Shaquille O'Neal. Well, he ain't better than Hakeem Olajuwon. Stop it.
Hakeem Olajuwon. I got no chance of losing. None at all. Olajuwon, he was in the top 10 in 5 categories: steals, rebounds, block shots, scoring, and shooting percentage. You know what I mean? To have a big guy of his size to be in the top 10 in steals. Now you can assume that he would be in blocks, which to me shows versatility of what type of guy he really was.
And the next player on my list is going to be Mark Price. I also had Mark Price on my show not too long ago, a player that I really wanted to feature on this list because he's probably the most underrated player on this video. There are many guys that played in a smaller market and who didn't win an NBA championship that don't get the respect that they actually deserve. If you take a look at the career of Mark Price and you see him in his prime, then we are talking about one of the best guards who ever played in the NBA, period. He could drop 20 if he wanted to. He was a shooting machine. He could average 10 assists if he wanted to. He was just as good as Steve Nash, the two-time MVP of the league. Just in my opinion, even better in his prime.
Mark Price, other than Steph Curry, was the best shooter I've ever seen in my life.
That's a lie.
And they talk about Steph Curry so much, but I wish that young players would look and Google Mark Price.
Mark Price
whooped my butt every single day. Right? I mean, every day.
Shooting drills?
Larry Nance, the great Larry Nance said to me, he said, "Where you going right now?" I said, "I'm going to shoot free throws because, the great Lenny Wilkins said, everybody shoot free throws, shoot 50 free throws at the end of practice."
Right.
He says it was Steve Kerr, who's the coach of Golden State, and Mark Price. They both shoot 90% from the line.
Right.
He says, Larry Nance says, "So don't go over there." He said, "If you go over there, don't miss."
Right.
So that's how I became a better free throw shooter, because they put the pressure on you to say, "Man, if you go over there, you have to shoot 90%.
90%. That's
See
what he
saying?
did.
So that's how Mark Price was. Mark Price was a perfectionist.
Ernie, can I just mention one guy's name who I think is one of the most underrated players of our era, who nobody ever talks about anymore, is Mark Price.
Strong and Danny Ferry has position of the rebound. Here's Price.
He was so good. You remember how good?
To check on the pick and roll. He was split the pick and roll.
Man.
He created the split.
Yes.
Nobody was split pick and roll.
He was back waiting in the lane.
He picks the spots to run, both off it.
There's Price. He lost Iverson and nailed the shot.
And the next player on my list is going to be Dennis Rodman, the Worm. What can you say about Dennis that hasn't been said before? Well, Dennis Rodman to me is in my personal top 50 players of all time. And I can tell you exactly why many people believe that Dennis could not score, which was totally not true. He could average double figures if he wanted to, but he simply chose not to be a scorer. Legendary coach Chuck Daly even confirmed this and said that Dennis is more proud about games where he didn't score a single point, but he had 20 rebounds. If we talk about the greatness of Dennis Rodman, I mean, how many players do you know that can guard position 1 to 5? Exactly. Bill Russell, for example, was not an offensively gifted player, but is considered by many to be the best player who ever lived because he simply won 11 rings. Incredible. But if we look at Dennis Rodman, he also won 5 NBA championships, and I think we should give him the credit that he actually deserved. Dennis, you were awesome. And the next player on my list is Dominique Wilkins, aka the Human Highlight Film. Dominique Wilkins suffers exactly the same situation as Shawn Kemp. Because of his incredible dunks, people easily overlook what a great player Dominique was. Many people considered him just to be an offensive player, but it's not exactly true. He was a good rebounder, a solid defender, not a great, but a solid defender, and he was a lot better than many people give him credit for. Alright, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this longer episode. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also like the video if you enjoyed this video. And I guess I'll see you next time on the Basketball Time Machine. Take care and goodbye.
This show is brought to you by Jam Time Machine Radio, the finest of old school black and pop music. Check out www.jamtimemachine.com and listen to non-stop old school black and pop music. Jam Time Machine Radio, more than just music.